That's you? Okay. Hello, everybody. They teach us in music school to not address the audience, to allow for the program and your imagination and your artistic understanding to figure out what we're trying to do up here. And I lead an adult community band back home. I've led it for 25 years. And I found that when I talk to the audience from time to time, which oftentimes consists of brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, and grandparents that just come in from every walk of life to hear a concert, then sometimes there's some kind of description as to what's about to go on seems to help everyone to follow it. Obviously, there was an opera to there was an overture to a Verdi opera written for professional musicians, and I thought they did a spectacular job. Family, would you give them a nice round of applause? Took it a little faster on the end than we had done before. As Bernstein said, in order for the audience to go with you when it's fast and loud, everyone's toes should curl up in the shoes just a little bit and hoping it doesn't go off the rails. And that's what he calls it presto. And so we took it up a notch that they didn't quite expect, but they handled it like professionals. And so I want to introduce the next piece just a little bit. Sung for Silent Voices. About 5 years ago, there was a massacre on the campus of Martin Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Anyone over the age of about 12, 15 will remember it. It's happened too often, it's too frequent in our society. Young person went to the school, killed 17 and wounded 17. Those good folks in that community will be devastated for life. More importantly, the children that attended the school. So we played these pieces in commemoration of, and to remind us also of how we should conduct ourselves in civil population. So we kind of forget about it, it kind of goes away. So how long ago was that? And we do it much too often. When the Stoneman Douglas band, at the end of that year, when the young man went to the school and shot 17 and wounded 17, killed 17, wounded 17. At the end of the year, the band had a trip to Carnegie Hall already planned. It was an outstanding ensemble. One of the best high school bands in the state of Florida, if not the best. They had a trip to Carnegie Hall planned. So this composer for the work, Wayne O'Quinn, was already writing it, but it was written for choir pieces coming up, Song for Silent Voices. And it didn't have any words. It just had Hallelujah. That's all he had. So when the shooting occurred, and he found out they were coming to his city to perform in Carnegie, he said, I'll write this for them. And it just so happens that this beautiful, beautiful, poignant, and wonderful piece of music has come out of such a tragedy. Additionally, when they were in New York City for the trip, members of the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, the principal players, the first year players, all met with the students from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in their sections. The principal clarinet, Anthony McGill, was with the clarinet players, one of the best players in the world. Chris Martin, the trumpet, was over here. And they gave them the best of themselves for, I understand, just about an hour. A visit, some playing, a Q&A, just talking and visiting and helping them to remember and to help let them know that the whole world still loves them. This particular piece will open up with about 10 different soloists in the opening of the work. I'm not sure what it represents. The beautiful part of the arts is that we get a chance to interpret it ourselves. Someone can tell you what they think it means, and sometimes the composer will tell us that. But as interpreters of the arts, it's important for us to just kind of figure out why 10 soloists in the high school in Florida. You can kind of put two and two together, but it's a beautiful, poignant song, and only a little painful at the very end, and it has a beautiful result. So I hope you enjoy Song for Silent Voices. Thank you so much. I'd like to echo my colleagues, Ms. Hummel and Dr. Jones, in congratulating these fine youngsters. Uh-oh. A little mischievous right now. Maybe I should give them the microphone. What do you think?
An appreciation to Dr. Alfred Watkins, South Carolina All-State Senior Banquet.
They did have something to say. I like to take a little break every now and then. I'm getting close to my 70th birthday, and it gets a little tiring up here sometimes. If I can find my file here for you. Here it is. Again, I'd like to echo the comments from Mrs. Hummel and Dr. Jones. I can't imagine that we just started maybe a couple of days ago. Seems like we've been together much longer than this. And it's a tribute to your state, the fine state of South Carolina. I'm from Metro Atlanta, and so we're just neighbors. And some of us along have been around the country, around the block once or twice. It's nice to come back home. It's nice to come back to a short drive from Metro Atlanta and visit with the band directors and the students from the neighboring state. You know, sometimes when we go out and around the country, people in other parts of the country, they get the impression we don't know what we're doing down here. And I hear it much too often when I do an all-state band from the Midwest or the West, or bless them in the Northeast. And I'll tell them, well, you know, the South Carolina bands learn this a little bit faster than y'all do. And I thought y'all were bright up here, and they always blush. But musicianship and talent and intellect crosses all boundaries, as you should know. I've had a long association with Jerry Gatch and Leslie Gilreath. Dr. Sue Samuels was my assistant band director at Latcher at the age of 20. Yeah, she's 20. And so I have a long association with South Carolina. You're young, some of you are Walterboro, and all those things that have made up your wonderful state. So it's a pleasure to come back and visit with the students and the band directors here close to home. The last piece, the piece we played a minute ago, the Song for Silent Voices is poignant, and it can sometimes be a little painful to listen to. But as I mentioned earlier, we must be reminded of what it represents. The next one is a different kind of movie that is closer to South Carolina. The piece is entitled Of Our New Day Begun, a short phrase taken from James Weldon Johnson and his brother John Johnson's Lift Every Voice and Sing, commonly known in some corners as the Negro National Anthem, that was composed 27 years before the Star Spangled Banner was our national anthem. It was traveling throughout the South in schools with youngsters who looked a lot like me. A cry for liberation, a cry for freedom at the turn of the century, the old one. So I want to read you a word from the composer. Omar Thomas is Dr. Thomas now. He's on the faculty at the University of Texas at Austin teaching composition. He taught composition at the Berklee School of Music, the famous jazz school in Boston, just after he graduated, which never happens. They don't hire a 22-year-old to teach theory of all things. He was at the Peabody Conservatory. He taught theory there for a while. Now he's at UT Austin. He's African-American descent. And he was asked to write this piece of music as an adult. Well, I'll read it for you. This is from the composer. Our New Day Begun begins in a unison statement from the melody Lift Every Voice and Sing. It was written by Omar Thomas to honor the 9 beautiful souls who lost their lives to a callous act of hatred and domestic terrorism on the evening of June 17, 2015, while worshiping in their beloved sanctuary, the historic African Methodist Episcopal Church, affectionately known as Mother Emanuel, in Charleston, South Carolina. The piece was commissioned by a consortium of 38 college band directors throughout the southeastern region. And Thomas writes this: my greatest challenge in creating this work was walking the line between reverence for the victims and their families and honoring my strong, bitter feelings toward both the perpetrator and the elements of our society that contribute to creating people like him. I realized that the most important musical expression I could offer incorporated elements from both sides of that line, embracing my pain and anger while being moved by the displays of grace and forgiveness demonstrated by the victims' families. So the piece had its origin in the Black church in South Carolina and in Georgia and other areas. The students have learned a lot. They really enjoy playing it. When you hear it playing, you'll hear all the emotions coming off the stage that a 15, 16, 17-year-old can generate on a topic of frustration that they too serve. Sometimes they have freckles and kids talk about them. Sometimes they're a little bit too large, a little bit too small, and sometimes they're balding. Sometimes they're a little bit too short, sometimes they wear glasses. And I was in the classroom with high school bands for 37 years. And I know the challenges that they go through that parents and grandparents never hear about is that they are outcast, sometimes put aside. And then there are the musicians. They're trained to cheer for everybody on the campus. We're an addendum to the athletic programs. They get so much and they use us as some kind of little music box over on the side. The students in the school oftentimes are not very familiar with the kids in the band. You've heard it. You may have played an instrument. Sometimes they call them names I cannot repeat in public. But we've heard them. Yet we cheer and we cheer and we cheer and we cheer on. And so the All-State Band gives us an opportunity to cheer for ourselves, cheer for our highest level of musicianship that the state of South Carolina offers. And I'd be willing to bet you can put all of the athletic teams together and they won't amount to half the talent that you've seen in these 2 or 3 bands this weekend. With this one, I'm not anti-athletics. I'm not anti-football other stuff in high school too, when I played football. But I played everything else. But I am pro music, I am pro the arts. And I'll yell it from the highest mountains and the highest hills because they certainly deserve the accolades and appreciation of the raw community. We hope you enjoy How Our New Day Begun.